To have no answer. Oh Lord, when I don't know what to do, what do you have me to say, Lord, each and every day, Lord, when I don't know what to say. Good evening, and welcome to Real Talk with Cindy. God bless you. Come on in. I see you. My guests are here. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Cindy R. Barber. And if you would like to be a blessing to Real Talk, my Cash App information is on the screen. But I'm so delighted that you're with us on tonight. Bless everyone. Blessings. Good evening. Auntie Sue, bless you. And Paulette all the way from Florida. Dolores Housey all the way from Greensboro, South Carolina. Good evening, Mike from Georgia. Bless you. Good evening, Robin, my sister from Connecticut. Bless you. Come on in, everyone. My guest is here. We're going to have a wonderful topic on tonight. The legends of the award-winning Wilmington Chester Mass Choir. Looking forward to this discussion on tonight. Thank you so much for joining Real Talk with Cindy. Bless you. I see you. Bless you. Here. My music here stopped. There we go. That is the Wilmington Chester Mass Choir with Lakeisha Campbell on lead. Stand still until his will is clear. God bless you. I see you coming in. Good evening. Yes. Stand still. Yes, this is a wonderful song. It's one of my favorites. Welcome, Jacqueline Reed. Brenda Hurst, welcome. Thank you for joining me on tonight. Come on in. Yes. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, Cheryl. Cheryl Perkins, good evening. are going to stand until his will is clear. Mm, mm, mm. Yes. Nobody can see it like her. Nobody. Yes. Stand, stand. Good evening, Rodney. Amen. God bless everyone. I'm going to bring on my first guest, Professor Willis Hickerson. Good evening. How are you doing tonight?
I'm all right. I don't know if I'm a professor yet or not. I'm working on it.
Oh, yeah, you are. It's so good to have you with me on tonight. I'm so looking
It's a
forward
joy
to
to
our
be here.
discussion. Yes, but I want to get started with talking about your music journey before we start talking about Wilmington Chester. Your music journey. When did you begin playing?
Oh my gosh. Let me quickly start off by saying this. If you have not subscribed to Kenndey Barber's YouTube page, I need you to do that right now. Subscribe to her YouTube page, and you see her Cash App information going across the bottom. So I'm gonna say that first before I get started, if that's okay, Miss Cindy. She didn't ask me to say that, but y'all support her now because this is a major blessing. My journey, my journey, my journey. Well, I am Willis Murphy Hickerson Jr., and the reason why
Mhm.
that's important is because Senior is the guy who got me started. I see you, Gary Diggs. Senior
Yeah.
is the guy who got me started. My
Yeah.
father is a pastor, Baptist minister. He's
Mhm.
still alive, 88 years old. My father started
Mhm.
out, though, playing bebop saxophone. He played for the Coasters. He did backup horn work for Ray Charles and others. So the
Wow.
house was full of that type of music. And then my mother is an awesome, awesome singer. So right around
Mhm.
about, I guess, 5 years old, my dad put a saxophone in my hand and it didn't stay. And then he put a clarinet in my hand and it didn't stay. But then he put some
Mhm.
drumsticks in my hand and they seemed to stick for a while because they made
Right.
most noise. So about
Yeah.
6 years old, I started playing drums. I was one of those little kids you see. I started playing drums for my daddy
Mhm.
about 6 years old.
Mhm.
And he was playing piano and organ for the church he was pastoring in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, Mount Olive Baptist
Mhm.
Church.
Uh-huh.
And it was amazing because my father would come in, put his robe on, go to the piano, play the
Mhm.
old style choir processional, where they marched in and swung around. And then he would go up to the pulpit and preach and then come back down and play another song. I see you, Rodney, play another song. And
Mhm.
then I'd be on the drums the whole time. Well, he had
Mhm.
this. Meanwhile, there was this guy named Fred Morris who was playing the organ at the church.
Mhm.
And I was just fascinated
Mhm.
by the organ. Even though I was loving the drums, I was fascinated by the organ. Every now and
Mhm.
then after church, I'd go over and Fred would say, "You want to learn how to do this?" And he'd show me something. "You want to learn how to do this?" He'd show me something.
Mhm.
And so one day, Fred left the church and
Mhm.
I was fooling around with the piano.
Mhm.
And my dad was playing the piano and then going to preach and then playing the piano and then going to preach. And so
Wow.
I kept looking at him while he was preaching and I was going, I can, and I was
Wow.
like 7 or 8 years old. I'm like, yo, I can. My dad's like, don't you go over there. And I'm like, Dad, I can. One day
Wow.
he just gave me the nod
Mhm.
and let me go to the organ. And I never got off of the Hammond organ from that moment until now. My mother tells stories about I love Mount Olive Baptist Church in
Uh-huh.
Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh, PA. I
Oh,
love Mount Olive Baptist Church because those were the people that while I was playing the organ when I was 8, 9 years old, they were
mhm.
going, ooh, ah, ooh, every time I hit a bad note, ah. But they stuck with me
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
as a result of that, I'm the musician I am today. So that's kind of how I got started. That's the reason why I got jazz in me and I got
Yeah.
gospel in me, and
Mhm.
because my father played everything. He listened to
Right.
everything. He whistled Charlie Parker around the house, and then he would put James Cleveland on right after that and listen to the records. And so, you know, I played for my father, I guess, until I was 18 years old, and he went to pastor another church. And by then I had got grown and decided I was going to stay. We had moved to Norristown, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia.
Yes,
And
yes.
and my dad was pastoring there, and then he decided to go back to the Pittsburgh area, but I was 18 and I didn't want to go. I wanted to
Uh-huh.
stay at the church where I was with, and so I decided to stay. And I was working with the choir there, 18 years old. And
Wow.
then 19 years old, I went to the House of God, founded on the Pillar of Truth on DeKalb Street in Norristown, Pennsylvania. I used to go there on Saturday because, you know, they had the Pentecostal experience, and I would get that.
Right.
And I'd play at my church on Sunday, the Baptist church, and I'd get that. And
Right.
so one day, and this lead us right to it. One day, I went over there, and this choir came to sing, and they didn't have anybody to play for them. And I just was on the organ. So the director of the choir, very charismatic young man, came running up to me, and he said, "We're gonna do this song. We're gonna do that song. We're gonna do this." I didn't know the song. I said, "Man, y'all start singing. I'll play them."
Right.
So they started singing. And he said, "The first song I want you to do, I just want you to play an E flat chord. You know what an E flat?" I said, "Yeah, I know what an E flat chord is." "You know what an E flat?" "Yes, sir." So he said, "I want you to do the sopranos, the altos, and the tenors. And then I want you to lay out until I tell you to come in." I didn't know what was about to happen. I didn't know the song. I said, "Do, do, do." And that choir said, "Right on, King
Oh,
G."
yes.
And that is how I started playing for Wilmington Chester Mass Choir.
That
They
is
didn't have anybody to play. And
right.
I happened to be on the organ, and the Lord just had it so that I would meet Ernest Davis Jr., Reverend Ernest Davis Jr.,
Right.
right there at the House of God on DeKalb Street in
Wow.
Norristown, Pennsylvania. Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
That's it. That's it. I mean, you know, I did all the stuff in school, and I
Yeah.
played in jazz band and all of that. But that's
Right.
the journey that brought me to Wilmington Chester.
Wow, that is amazing. And I'm so now. What would you say during this time with the pandemic to musicians and to encourage them as far as what they're dealing with at this time?
Wow. Um, it may be for those who are not musicians who might be watching. It may be kind of difficult for you all to understand this, but I believe that musicians, singers, and artists will understand. We were designed to present our gift to people. That's a part of our design. And it can be
Right.
our uprising and it can be our downsetting.
Yeah,
But we were
that's true.
designed to do that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so for us right now, the oxygen, the life's blood of what we do is that audience being in front of us to let us know we're doing well. In the pandemic, we don't have that audience.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and and we're learning a new way. Like the church I'm at here in North Carolina now, we stream every Sunday.
Yeah.
So I got to say, come on, everybody, put your hands together and let's praise the Lord. Not knowing that them people are out there looking at me eating grits. I have no idea.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
I now have to be introspect. This is the time for us as musicians to really dig deep inside of us to find the gift. For
Yeah.
some of us, we be playing the same thing over and over again. It's gotten rudimentary. It's gotten
Yeah.
boring. This is a time for you to find your gift. Sit down and play. Sit down and read some music. Listen to
Right.
something besides what you always listen to, and let the Lord put something new in you. Because there's
Yeah.
gonna come a time when this is gonna be over.
Yeah.
And while we're standing still, we need to be getting ready
That's right.
because we don't know what God has next. Yeah.
No, and we really don't know. We really don't know.
Hmm.
And I'm so glad that you're with us tonight. And I have Howard here.
Yeah, my boy.
Howard, some questions here. So, Howard, how are you tonight?
I feel fabulous. How about you?
Good. I'm so
It's a
glad to
pleasure
have
meeting you.
you. And it's nice meeting you too. So, was your share your music journey? A little
Well,
bit of
my
your
music journey started at a young age. I played drums at my father's church. He was a pastor, Morris
uh-huh.
Kenndey, and my mother played the piano along with Marlon Lewis and my brother Paul Mars Kenndey. And they were from the funk era. So for me, it was the 2 and the 4. You got to play in the pocket. Don't you move. You stay right there. Stay solid. And we had church. We played it a lot in church, and it started there. I have a very famous musical family, and but my journey started at the North Providence Baptist Church in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And from there, it just migrated up. I was a singer, then drummer for the Philadelphia Youth Mass Choir.
Oh yeah.
So I was a part of that journey, and then from there, I was playing for a lot of people in Philadelphia at the time. It was probably 4 drummers that had their own drums and a car. So I was called a lot at 16, 17, 18 years old. And then at 21 was when Ernie called me one Sunday. And then that's when Willis and I began to play with Wilmington Chester. Well, I played along with him.
Right.
And then that's when we started enjoying and developing a friendship and a love for one another.
Right. So you're in Philadelphia now?
I'm in Philadelphia. City of brotherly love.
Okay. Right. I understand. Yes. And now here we have Chris Squire. How are you, Chris?
Good, and you. Thank you for having me on with my superstar friends, Howard and Willis.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to bring them back in a couple of minutes. So share a little bit about your journey and what are you doing now, basically?
My musical journey is absolutely the weirdest of the gang. My family, they weren't tied into church. We went to church, but that wasn't our legacy. But I started in a band. I played the flute, the clarinet, and the saxophone. I started there. I actually have the flute that my mom bought me when I was in 4th grade. So that flute is really old. So I had the whole band concept where I was. And when I did start going to church on a regular basis, about 11 or 12, I got caught up in the music stuff. And then because I'm a writer, I try not to, I pretend like I don't. We were doing an album at 14. I think I wrote, well, actually it was 15. I did a rearrangement of Cheryl Lynn's Got to Be Real. So I rearranged that in Chicago for our choir, and I was the director of the choir. And I just was in music then and I was in Chicago. I was born and raised in Chicago.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
And then what happened was I left Chicago to take a job. I left V103 in Chicago I was a radio guy, and came to Philadelphia and joined the DAS team in 1989. And the significance of 1989 was the year that Wilmington Chester recorded He's Preparing Me. And it was September the 17th, 1989, when I met Ernie Davis Jr. The choir was singing at Chester High School. It was a Saturday rainy night, and I really did not come to hear Wilmington Chester Mass Choir. What I came to hear the Philadelphia Mass Choir, because they were the big thing in Chicago. Philly Mass was the big thing in Chicago. And Wilmington Chester, they just had this one hit ride on King G's,
Right.
So in 89, I met, it was Maxine Stroud and Reverend Ernest Davis Jr. They came to DAS to buy advertising for the November 4th, 1989 concert for Wilmington Chester Mass Choir. So that Saturday in September, I went to hear Philly Mass, and I hear Ernie Davis Jr.
Right.
And it was a rainy night on a Saturday at Chester High School, and Philly Mass was on the show, and Ernie Davis Jr., Wilmington Chester got up, and Willis was playing for Philly Mass and Wilmington Chester that night. But Ernie got on the stage, and Wendell Applewhite he's singing. You know that what was the song he was singing, guys? Keep busy praising my.
Keep so busy praising my Jesus.
So Willis had on plaid suit. I don't know if you remember that, but he was killing it.
Oh, I had on plaid suit.
Ernie Davis Jr. turned around. I kid you not. Before the choir sang, and the audience that was there, they jumped all up. It was crazy. It was like, who is this stupid, ugly little guy? That's what I called him. I said it to his face. And they loved him so much. I said, I got to put him on the radio at DAS. And
Wow.
I came backstage. He had his Louis Vuitton briefcase.
I have that
And I
briefcase.
came back.
He gave it to me.
And we became really good friends. And he started at DAS the month after he's preparing me was recorded. I mean, but we became friends, and that was the most amazing concert. And we got to find this, Willis. But that he's preparing me actually had 3 vamps, and all you got was vamp number 2 in that project. And the best vamp was vamp number 3, which was about 12 minutes long.
It was 12 minutes long. Yeah.
Really? Wow, that's amazing. 12 minutes long.
Wow.
So that's
kind
kind
of
of
give you a 12-minute vamp.
Yeah. So when after the founder,
so that was my journey to Wilmington Chess and my musical history.
Yes. So after he died, after he passed, Ernie Saunders, Ernie Davis. What happened? How did you get to be the leader, Chris?
Nobody else wanted to do it.
That's true.
Again, I remember like it was yesterday. It was October the 5th, and we were preparing in 1991 for the Stand Still process. Hey, Jeffrey. It was 1991, about 3 weeks before he passed away. And we had just rehearsed, and my job was to come back and forth after every rehearsal and tell him stuff. So I was his spy, kind of, sort of. Well, what did y'all do? Because he wasn't able to come to all the rehearsals. And we had a conversation. He says, for this project, now this is what he said to me. He said, for this project, you're gonna be in charge. You're gonna be chairman. He never said the choir. It was Maxine who put that crap in place. So my job was just to walk through the choir stuff. And because Lucretia was a friend of mine, part of my job was to get Lucretia to come in. And I don't know if you guys remember, Ernie wanted Stand Still. Carol Antrim wouldn't give it to us.
Did not want to give it to him. That's right.
Really?
He gave us God's Mercy. And that's what we recorded.
Right.
And what happened after that was, after Ernie died, we were rehearsing. I think we started rehearsing at CBT at that time or something like that. And I said, Carol, give it to us. And Carol said no. And I think a week before the session, I think Lucretia rehearsed Stand Still for the first time the week before the session. And I also remember when she came out to do God's Mercy, she said, no, wrong song. So when he passed, that's how it happened. And it wasn't something I wanted to do.
Right.
I was too busy sinning and grinning. I ain't had time to do this church stuff.
Right.
But they became a passion of mine in my heart, and I got 2 of my best friends in the world, Willis and Howard, out of that. So that's cool with me.
Wow, amazing. How many writers were for the choir?
Oh my God.
There were more we didn't use than we used.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Howard, get your calculator out because we got to figure out how many writers we've had.
Oh, really? That many? Yeah.
Yes.
One of the most prolific writers.
They weren't on the choir. They
Huh?
weren't on the choir. We solicited their music, but Willis and I wrote a lot of the songs, several songs for the choir.
Really?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw, but one of the most prolific writers for the choir, Jeffrey LaValle, he's on the call.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing writer. Absolutely one of the best.
Yes. And the Carol Antrim, how many songs did she write?
Still prepared.
Sovereign, God's Mercy, Stand Still, The Change Will Come.
He's prepared.
And he's preparing me.
Let's not forget that one, okay?
Right. Right. And then you guys had Daryl Coley on there, singing,
and writing.
Yeah. Oh, he wrote too.
Yes. He wrote some phenomenal music for the choir.
Yeah.
He wrote a song for the choir. Yes, that's it. Beatitudes. We were like, man, we never really even got back to that really good because it was. But Daryl was a writer, and so he brought us a lot of music. He said, and it was interesting because Daryl, one of my favorite Daryl Coley memories is The first time was Sovereign for me, and the second time was He's Preparing Me. And
Mm,
both times he had not heard the songs
mm-hmm.
before he landed on Friday. And he was going to sing the songs in concert for
Mm-hmm.
recording on Saturday. Carol
Wow.
Antrim handed him the sheet music, and
Mm-hmm.
he did everything that he did to those songs while reading the sheet music like this. He was
Really?
holding the sheet and doing all of that. He was reading the actual song and adding
Mm-hmm.
all of that to the song.
Mm-hmm.
Sovereign and He's Preparing Me. I promise you, that man was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, his voice was definitely amazing. That is so good. Now, after you guys, because I know you won Stella Awards. Did you guys win a Grammy too?
We were nominated for a Grammy
You were
in
nominated
2000.
for a Grammy.
Mm-hmm.
What was the album that you were nominated for, Howard?
Hosanna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
We went to that, Chris and I. We went to the Grammys that year.
You
Yeah, I
did.
couldn't go. They left me home. They left me home, man.
We was hoping to come back.
Yeah, we're going back. I'm telling you that now.
The Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir won that year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Well, who wrote the song? Who wrote Hosanna?
Becky White.
Becky White.
Oh,
Becky White.
Yes, I remember her.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Another
absolutely.
excellent writer, wrote a lot of stuff for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, she was amazing too. She was really amazing. What do you think kept that choir together back then? Chris, what do you think kept the choir so relevant and growing even after his death? You guys are still growing.
Because you had three of the most incredible musicians that you could ever have. That was the sound. It was Willis, Howard, and Ron. Because of them, and a lot of times you get musicians coming in and out of organizations,
Mm-hmm.
but those three were the glue to the organization. I mean, we went through 200 directors and directors, but the band was the key to the foundation of the choir sound. It was an incredible sound that they produced, and nobody does it like them. I mean, it's still to this day. When we can go to a place and we can do Right on King Jesus, and they'll know Howard and Willis are there and Ron just because how they started off. So it was the band. Again, they allowed me to be a part, and I was fortunate and blessed. But those guys are still amazing to this day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. How's the choir doing now? Are you all still singing, or how are you doing now? Howard, how's the choir?
You didn't ask me that, right? You asked Chris. I retired.
They come back during special occasions, and hope that they come back to the next special occasion. This has probably been one of the most difficult times for the choir in a few years. We just had services for one of our members, Erica Brown, on Saturday, and we just found out about an hour and a half ago that Florence Henry passed away today as well. So it's been really a tough kind of thing. It literally was an hour and a half ago that the information came out. So it's been tough, but you're going to hear some news. And Jeffrey, I do need my song or two, so just get ready. I want to do a studio thing and to honor all of the people that have been through this ministry. We've had some tremendous people come through here.
Yeah,
and we want to do something. And I've asked Moretta's. I'm going to ask Moretta. I already talked to her about doing a song. And one of the quiet jewels of Wilmington Chester, who was somebody who was way in the background and did not ever come forth, but is a amazing vocalist, musician, singer now. Has kind of agreed to doing something with us, and that's Avery Sunshine. We knew her as Denise White. Avery is an amazing talent, does R&B now on the level of the lettuces and stuff like that. Wow. But she has agreed to do some stuff with us. I just have to remind her that she still has to come and do it. She don't even have to come and do it. We can do tracks and send it to her. But it is. I have made one commitment, and then I'm quitting the choir forever, and that's that Grammy. So that's why God ain't gave me the one time for me to quit.
Right.
We're gonna get it, Howard and Willis. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We gonna get it. All right, we gonna get it.
Can I tell you? I actually had this thought because the other part, people think I'm more business at times than music, and sometimes I can be very business. But the song right now that I really wish I can go in the studio right now and redo and put it out right now is the song that Howard and Willis wrote. And the first words of it, in times like these. And to me, that is the perfect song for this season right now. And that's my hint to give Howard and Willis to go back in and figure it out how we're gonna get this one done.
Howard,
maybe have a kind of a version of it with his son, because Howard's son is an incredible talent. Absolutely incredible talent. He did a remix of Ride On King Jesus, like off the chain. So we might put some modernizations in it as well.
Yeah. Wow, that would be amazing. And I'm just glad to see that you guys are, still, because I know Zach sometimes, he's still working with you, Zach Williams, and he's doing something. And
I'm very proud of Zach. I consider him to be kind of a ministry son. He followed us around from a youngster. When we were, he would carry my keyboard for me so he could watch and get chords from me. And yeah, we went through everything from him setting up his first studio to being there when his father died. And I just consider him to be like my boy, and it's been a pleasure from time to time to play for Wilmington, Chester, Squire, and have Zach standing in front of us to direct. That's just been one of the greatest pleasures, because watching him become the great man in gospel music that he has become, particularly keeping choir music alive and all of that. Very, very proud of him. Very proud of him.
Absolutely.
Because I find that in this day and time, and a lot of musicians, like you were saying, he would carry, your keyboard and things like that. Musicians don't want to do that now. And I find that a lot of those that did, was serving, there's some phenomenal people as of now, because they had a servant heart. They wanted to learn. They stayed around it, to hear it, to be a part of it, because that goes a long way. And just to have your choir still relevant. What can, I'll start with Chris and go around. What can you really say? Because I know right now we're in this pandemic, we can't sing. The first thing they targeted was the choirs, they shut that down, and along with, the churches and things like that. But what can you say to really encourage choirs? Because Wilmington Chester is still alive and well. And I know many have gone on to be with the Lord, but God has still kept the choir going on. What do you think, Chris, can you say to choirs that, about trying to stay relevant and to really keep their focus at this time as to what we're going through?
And I had a board meeting scheduled for tonight, but the most important thing I can tell any choir or any artist is that relevancy is more important than concerts. If you can make a commitment to be relevant in the communities that you serve, whether it's feeding the hungry, taking care of people like that, then it's a game changer. So people will gravitate to what they're comfortable with, not a sound, because and think about it this way. And Jeffrey LaValle, and I know he's on the phone, on the line, but his music stays, we can do holy, 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 and that music will be relevant. And he came to this choir because of his friendship. And that's what will keep, I think, choirs relevant if they stop becoming artists and do ministry, because ministry is forever.
Right. Ministry is vital, and that's so important. It's very vital. But Willis, what can you add to that?
So I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina right now at the Park Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. And one of the things that we do is we do maybe once every 6 weeks, once every 4 to 6 weeks, we do a virtual choir song. And this gives our choir at the church an opportunity to sing even though they cannot come together.
Right.
It gives them a chance to put on I have them dress up. They put on their uniform. They put their makeup on. They wear the right jewelry. You know, some of them have to work at it. They're putting up backgrounds so that everybody's background looks the same. And we cut a track. Our band gets together and cuts a track for them to sing to, and we send this out to them, and they sing, and they love to do it. I mean, that they're coming at me, and they love to do it. When are we doing? What do we have to have? We worked out a way for them to be able to upload their videos to us, and then I literally edit all of their stuff together. I think I just saw my nephew Dante. That literally, Howard's son just popped up. I literally edit this stuff together in Final Cut Pro, and the reason why I'm saying all of that is because some of what I need to say to us in this pandemic moment is choir leaders it's an innovative time. Okay, it's not that our choir can't come together.
Right.
It's how can our choir come together? The choir might say, "Oh, we can't do it," but I'm speaking directly to the choir leaders right now.
Yeah.
It's your job to say, "How can we?" There's a way to do it so that people, because being in a choir is like nothing else.
That's right.
It's family. It's family. I don't know, Howard, are we going to get into any of these bus trips, or are we going to get into it? So.
Those were the best times.
Yeah. Share.
We would leave on a Friday night and return Monday morning in time to go to work, travel to Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit in a weekend.
Yeah.
And get back home in time to go to work. It was amazing.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Sometimes we left late, and I wonder why we got left going on the trips late. Yeah.
I don't know which one that you're talking to.
Right. Somebody.
We'd be on it now. Now here's the deal. Howard, you got to help me tell the story real quick. So here's the deal. If we're traveling for like more than 8 to 10 hours, that means we're gonna be on the bus overnight. Now, folks that you've known for 3, 4, 5, people's just familiar now. We just family now, right? Okay, we on the bus. Howard and I have devised a way to make a little extra money.
Yep. We had a cooler.
Yes, sir. We had a cooler. We had a cooler, right? And we would now, Cindy, I promise you this is the truth. We would get the cooler. Howard, where did we get them sodas?
I don't remember.
Out of everybody else's cooler.
Right, but they weren't like Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and Sprite. They were like, they were like Etsy. They were like Etsy, Ola, and Ike. You know, right. But we were charging Pepsi prices. One day we went in. We had a rest stop, and when we came, I think they got tired of us price gouging them. When we came out of that rest area, got back on that bus, all them sodas was gone. They had gone in our coolers. Stole off last soda.
But you know, they tried to do what we did, but they had styrofoam coolers, and I would just accidentally step on them on the bus or land on them. So they weren't professionals like us. We
had to keep our. You have to learn how to be a professional at this.
You got to be a professional on selling the bus.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it was fun.
Too funny.
Hey, what's up? The family's on.
Yes. Yes. People are really enjoying this. But it is important for choirs thank you for encouraging. Now, Howard, what could you say to maybe choirs and musicians as far as, them being relevant or encouraging them at this time? Because a lot of musicians are really going through right now because they're not able to play, in the churches. And some of them, all they had was this, playing at the church. That was it.
I just would encourage them to ready their craft for when the time comes, as Willis indicated. There's going to come a time when things will open back up and people will rely upon you. I've said this to many people. I can't wait for the music to open up again, because it's going to be concerts in the afternoon. You're going to wake up at 11 o'clock. There's going to be a concert at 11 a.m., 1 p.m. in every city, because people are hungry to show their craft. And this time, people are really anticipating some good music. Now, if they're charging a whole lot to get there, that's going to be a mistake. However, people are going to just enjoy the having arts back. We took it for granted. We really did.
We did.
And now we can see that the needs was really essential. We took everything for granted during this time. So I'm looking forward to going to concerts. I was excited about going to see the Legends, and that was my goal for 2020. Go see the Legends, and not just gospel, but you know, Tony Bennett, those kind of legends, and people that I admire. But I believe when the world opens up and things go forward, we're gonna have a lot of fun. There's gonna be a lot of music to be heard.
And like she said, Yvette said, people are going to be ready. Because she said they took advantage of it, but now it's going to be different. And another thing, if they start charging all those big prices, people are not going to be. It's not going to. Things are just. Excuse me. It's not going to be the same after this pandemic. It is not. It can't be the same.
Can't be the same.
So I'm going to throw this out because I am probably from a business standpoint. Once we master the concept of virtual concerts, very similar to how the game has changed with buying music, because people don't buy music like they used to. You learn the streaming game, and once you learn the streaming game and where it actually is played, then the game is changing. You learn all of those pieces, and what I have now is a plan from a streaming perspective to put the choir in a different situation. Most people don't realize that that overseas in Africa is where the biggest growth in streaming is. I mean, we can't take a bus trip to Africa, Howard, but that's where that's where the biggest opportunities are. And by the way, Jeffrey LaValle, who has a song on the Kanye project, Grand nominated, is I mean, 1 million streams on a project. And then you just have to be able to calculate what that 0.6 times 1 million to get that. And if you got a whole share, that's the kind of stuff that excites me about where this industry has an opportunity to go, because it's amazing what you can do when you have enough knowledge and information to do it.
Right. And you have to stay, and there's nothing wrong with asking people for advice, or how can we do, especially with this streaming. This thing has taken on a whole different world. Being on lives like this, being with Zoom has really, the finances that they're making, with Zoom, and we have to really stay relevant. And then, like you said, even learning new techniques of how to do things, the virtual choir, because I've gotten into that myself, virtual choir, and just different things. Because I'm wondering, once, after 2020, what do we expect in 2021 with the choir?
Right.
What do you think we, can expect with the choir? Do you think we're going to come back singing, or will it be 2022?
May I say something?
Yes.
I'm glad that I was a part of the choir early on. Like I like the praise and worship stuff. But there's nothing like choir music. There's nothing like the era of choirs in church, and you listen to a choir song to Hawkins and Chicago Mass and Philly Mass. Those were great times. When you would go to a concert and it was 5 choirs on the concert, amazing times. You had to have your best performance. Now, if we could ever get that back, I'm just glad to have been a part of that era and to have experienced that.
Yeah, that's that 33rd Diamond, Cornerstone Baptist Church in Philadelphia. It'd be 10 choirs for Walter Stewart's anniversary. 10, 12 choirs rolling through there. That was the first time I ever heard Stephen Ford really take a solo on the organ. And I went home thinking, I cannot play. Like, I just don't even know what I'm doing. But you know what? Howard, I agree with that. And somebody, I think it was Joe, just put up on the screen that 2022 is going to be an epic choir year. Hey, Tampa,
What's up, Tammy?
it's going to be a epic choir year 2022.
I
Man,
believe.
I believe that that's true. I think 2021, to answer, is a year where the world is getting it back together again.
Yeah. Yes.
We'll be just figuring it out. But by 2022, I believe that's when. And I hope, Howard, that you're right. Excuse me. I hope that you're right in that. I hope that by then the world has missed choir music to the point where choir music will be making a comeback. That's my prayer.
Yes.
Thank God for Ricky Dillard.
Right. Thank God for Ricky Dillard.
My plug.
Thank God.
I love Ricky Dillard.
Yeah.
Can I jump in and be the pessimistic person on the choir side?
Yeah. David Frazier is watching.
I think I'm in radio. I work for iHeart, vice president of sales at iHeart in Philadelphia. And two things that scare me right now is that churches are now getting accustomed to not having a choir, and they're in the praise and worship mode. So that's what they're videotaping. So that's going to be a detriment to choirs being in that big situation. And then with the pandemic, everybody's afraid to breathe on each other. So that's going. If we get past that, that's a good step. The second part is that the cycle of music has kind of changed from the choral sound, not really, but it's a choral sound with 6-7 people, and it's made it difficult. So from my standpoint, I really do believe that for a choir to succeed, we have to make kind of a shift a little bit. It has to be, I mean, we're still doing the church stuff, but to how do we sustain financially? How do we sustain those situations? Because nobody's going to ask for 50 people on the bus to travel.
Right.
That ain't happening. And they're not flying you to California.
No.
Record companies ain't paying for you. So you have to be able to create your own business model as an organization, and then figure out where the revenue is going to come in. And the revenue is coming in streaming. So you figure out where the cash flow is. The top 3 places where streaming falls is Spotify, Pandora, and XM radio. And then you target that. Forget about these smaller terrestrial stations. I'm sorry if I offended anybody on the phone, because terrestrial radio stations don't pay performance rights. And then you just focus there. And if you got a smart platform, you do what Kanye did. You bring everybody along for the ride. You sample some stuff that'll get you in places that you've never been before, and then you start picking up the checks, and then you can do stuff yourself and make the money. So you can't rely on other people bringing concerts in. You have to be able to be a money generating unit on your own, and that's what I think. That's the model I'm trying to build right now. And the goal this time, it has to be a little different this time now, because Howard and Willis are much smarter than they used to be. You can't pay them $100 and think that that's going to be a process. No, I'm being straight up. So you create a partnership so that everybody is working on the same page. So now Willis and Howard become the music people. My job is to make sure that when this music comes out and we finish in the studio, that I put it in the right place so we all can win. That's the model.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Now, Pastor Christopher Bettner is saying, do y'all remember Tyrone Caldwell from?
Absolutely.
God, yes. Hallelujah for Tyrone Caldwell.
Absolutely. Love Tyrone.
Absolutely. Yes.
Now, let me ask you this question, Chris. Do you think that the sizes of choirs will matter? Do you think we'll start going down to smaller because of what we're seeing now, or because economically it's better to have a smaller choir?
They've been shrinking for a long time, but in my business model, it doesn't have to, because so I don't have to take a choir on the road if I'm virtual, and I can give your church a virtual concert where it's cheaper, where you can pay us, where we don't have any real expenses. So you don't have to do that. So if as Willis, and I don't know if it's Willis or Howard, one of them said that it's time to be creative and move the model, because it's not going to be the same. Wouldn't it be wonderful if you could just do a live set at your church There are no expenses attached to it, and they just give you whatever the fee is for doing it, and then you do a workshop attached to that. Game over.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I mean.
Wow.
It's like, I mean, I have, to give you a classic example, and I'm as much about the church ministry as I am about, the gospel music industry ministry. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We just put up a virtual choir tune. I'm trying to think of the name of the song. Oh, the Lord is blessing me. The Lord is blessing me. We just put it up. For the first time, we have a new member of our church who joined online. Our church is in Charlotte, North Carolina. She lives in Columbus, Ohio. She is a choir member.
See?
And sang with the choir 2 weeks ago from Columbus because of this model of being able to, this was not possible pre-COVID. Nobody would have thought that we would have a choir member. I mean, had on the same uniform, about beautiful soprano voice.
Yes.
Right? It's a whole different, you got to think differently. And, that leads to the industry as well as to the church.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, it has to be a change.
If we get Howard's son to do some stuff for us, that takes us into a whole different genre past the choir music. Because what you have here is that we're all focused. Somebody must have paid for
Oh my goodness.
2 points, 2 points.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, you made me lose my thought, man. That was good.
I don't even know what you were saying.
I forgot.
That was that was Howard's son, right? That knocked us all out, right? You know that, right?
Yeah, I'm not on social media, and for them to have gotten me on this is really a miracle right now.
Well, we appreciate you. Now, Joe is saying most established church and community choirs are waiting for the cloud to lift, and I believe many will come back stronger.
What does stronger mean?
Right.
They'll be able to sing in the church. Will it be a relevant ministry? I mean, I'm not saying it's irrelevant, but what audience are they trying to reach? Are they trying to reach the saved, or are they trying to reach just the people there? I will really tell you that it depends on what your vision is. I actually believe that choir music can be a world vision where you can get. I mean, one of the things that I learned from Howard decades ago was that if you go over to Switzerland, if you go over to Europe, they still love the gospel music, the traditional stuff. So now we don't have to travel over there. So if we can tie into our streaming systems and put it there, game over.
Yeah. I agree. This is good, Chris. Thank you. This is good. Now, Gregory Allen said, "It's a blessing to hear from these guys." The Wilmington Chester, my Overbrook choir opened for them back in the day, and I consider you guys, Howard and Chris, as Philadelphia legends. Carry on. Amen.
Wow.
Amen.
Well, I think we saw Joe Stevens down there too. I was happy to see him.
My friend Joe Stevens.
Yeah, he provided all of our back line for years, right? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And Gregory Allen says Dennis Atkinson is my former student and choir keyboardist.
Yeah,
he's an excellent writer. Dennis Atkinson just put out a Christmas song, "Merry Christmas" on YouTube. You all should listen to that.
Pastor Morgan.
Amazing.
Chris,
Pastor Morgan.
Chris, you just got your beating. Chris got a beating.
But it's okay. Something I will tell you. I always have the crazy views in the beginning, but they always come out right from a business standpoint. I want the choirs to come back, but the truth is that people are not going to flock back.
Yeah.
And I love choirs. I mean, I've been in choirs all of my life.
I know what you're saying. Hey, Jeff Jacob.
Wow. Can I give you a Jeff Jacob story? It is the most classic story in the history of choir. Now, Jeff wrote a couple songs for us. Yeah. So it was the Stand Still project, and Jeff had wrote Nothing But the Blood.
Nothing but the blood.
Was it Stand Still? Nothing But the Blood. So Jeff was sitting in the audience, but what they forgot to tell Jeff was they changed the tempo of the song.
We kicked the tempo.
But it's one of the it's a incredible classic. And what happened was they changed the tempo of the song, and you had this. If there was a camera on Jeff at the time, it was priceless. But Jeff is an incredible writer. But Jeff, and by the way, all the women in the choir think Jeff is the prettiest songwriter in the history of the world. He's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, and now he has gray hair. It's all over.
He is. Japan and China loves our music also.
Wow,
the cost of doing business in Japan and the tariffs on the music and inability to pay royalties at a good rate caused Japan not to be a good place for me. So I'm doing all my homework now. And China's stealing everything.
Right.
Say what?
Wow.
Again.
What'd you say, Howard?
He's doing business again. Relax.
He's doing business again. Now you all are
session. You can't play that. You can't do that.
Right.
We're not ready for that yet.
Right.
You all are getting a picture of what it was like in the studio mixing. He's preparing, he stands still, the change will come, fear not, Hosanna. Me and Howard would be sitting there, Howard would be trying to make sure it's musical. I would be trying to make sure a church choir would sing it, and Chris would be trying to make sure we could get it on the radio so we could get some money out of it. That's how this is. But you know, the Bible does say that a 3-cord rope is not easily broken. So
not
there
easily
you have it.
That's what this verse says. Now Jay is saying, what would Ernie Davis say about the state of the gospel music?
Oh, that's a great question. He'd be having a fit.
He'd be yelling, Howard.
He would be yelling. He would be having a fit right now.
He would be having a fit.
I don't think he would be.
He was.
The reason why I don't think he would be because Ernie, God, this is going to sound so bad, but it's so true. Ernie knew that he could use me to get to the business side. Ernie took the best out of you and used it for the good of his choir. He knew that I had access to DAS, which at the time was the premier station, one of the premier stations in the country, and I had access to other stations. So Ernie knew what he was doing, and Ernie just adjusted and made it work. I mean, he would have it would always been a traditional sound because he loved that anthem, that whole Negro spiritual sound, because he was incredible. But Ernie was smart. That was a smart dude.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Ernie would say. Now, I mean, we have different angles from which we had to deal with Ernie too. from my angle, I'll never forget. We went to hear Commission, and he had a fit because he said he wasn't singing. I mean, he was a stickler for correctness in singing. Now, he was very, very, very. He was very progressive in where and how to put the choir. So he would let Chris tell him to put the choir in a certain venue that would make it good. But he needed that. One of the things, other choirs would get scared when we would come in because of the disciplined nature of Ernie Davis.
Yeah,
you saw them yellow in black robes coming down the line.
Yep,
the bumblebees.
That was it. And other choirs would shake. They'd be like, "We better do something because they're coming through." It's just how he was like that, and I learned it from him. And I have to admit, now I have to act like an old dude because I'm like, y'all need to get together. This ain't, but he instilled so much discipline in us, and that just, a chord had to fit the chord the choir was singing. You couldn't play a dissonant to the choir, to the alto line in your chord. You had to fix that or else he would stop you. And I miss that. I miss that from Ernie. I miss that from Edwin. I miss that from Walter. That discipline and attention to detail that makes music strong. You can have that discipline no matter what genre, praise and worship, small group, big choir, whatever,
Right. Because we don't have that. And a lot of the younger people don't know about this. They're on the praise and worship team just singing whatever they want, but they don't know about that discipline part of being on the choir. And that's why I think some of them shun away from wanting to be a part of the choir, because it definitely has some strong discipline. It came with those choirs. They didn't play.
We were walking, the choir lined up down a hallway. We were walking down the hallway, taking their earrings away.
Yeah.
Hey, you got, and choir members would be looking at each other going, "You got your earrings on. You got your earrings on. Take your earrings off." I mean,
Yep.
just that kind of discipline. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a matter of taking away your personal liberties, but you're in the choir now.
Right.
So that's where discipline comes in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Joe was saying that Wilmington Chester set the pace musically, and the musicians set a standard that others had to measure themselves up to.
Wow.
Thank you.
Excellence and discipline is what he required. That is lacking today, and that's what a lot of people are saying, that we don't have that discipline. A lot of that is lacking today with the choir. So,
But
Chris,
here's one, because Ernie was a leader. Ernie wasn't just a choir director; he was a leader.
He was a true leader.
Ernie was one of those leaders that made you. He said he would tell you to jump, and you say how. You wouldn't even say how high. You say, when do you want me to come down? Because that's the kind of stuff he was. He demanded that respect. I'll share a story that I'll never forget. When the Stellar Awards were at the Apollo one year, and Ernie, I, and Beverly and Maxine drove up, and Mississippi Mass Choir opened up the show, and they came down the aisle to go to the stage, and Ernie looked over to me because he played me. I will tell you this today. He played me. He said, "I got 3 things I want you to do for me." I looked at, we were sitting in the Apollo on the first floor to the back because we weren't important then. and he said, "I want you to get us to perform on the Stellars. I want to win a Stellar, and I want to be nominated for a Grammy."
Really?
And this was 1990, I want to say. 1990, 91, somewhere. It had to be 90. And those were the 3 things he told me. And I've told the story before. And I say, I told him, after I do these 3 things, I can quit, right? He said, yes. I ain't quitting.
You ain't quit yet.
Because I got the one thing. I want to win the Grammy. Then I'm going to
quit.
Yes. So now Wilmington Chester will be going back in the studio. Or have you guys going back in there?
If I told you that, I might have to kill you. No, I'm just kidding. No,
my God.
No, I'm kidding. I actually sent out a email to do some stuff. It's difficult to be in the studio and have the sound that you want, but yes, we're going to be doing something. I want all the people who were part of the choir. To me, it's a legacy piece for me.
Sure,
it's the legacy of bringing all those people back. The people who made this, help develop the Wilmington Chester sound, and Carol Andrews, because Carol used to do her thing. I have tapes of Carol's songs. We can still steal one of them. We just had to give all the royalties. The Jeffrey LaValleys, who on all the stuff, Becky White, Marette started with us in 2000 doing stuff. That was, and when she came to teach a song, her keyboard player that came up with it was Anthony Brown. That was the funny part. So all of that stuff was part of the Wilmington Chester legacy. And
the legacy. Oh my God.
But if Jeffrey LaValle or the Becky Whites or those people are not part of it,
Donald Lawrence.
Legacy. Donald Lawrence came and taught.
Really?
It was part of the legacy, and it's important that we never forget where we came from.
Yeah. Wasn't Ricky Grundy a part also? Did he write anything?
Yes,
he did. A song for us. I think it was Strong. I think Bruce Parham sang it. Bruce Parham sang it.
Was that? Yes, yeah. It was a great tune.
Amazing. Pastor Morgan, we love them. They would come to the small church and minister as if they were at the Apollo.
Look, here's the thing. First of all, I don't know if I would classify Pastor Morgan's church as a small church.
No, I mean,
I mean,
right.
Because that is Bishop Morgan right there, who we love and respect and love to come to this church. But let me promise you this: when you walked in that church, the Holy Ghost was at the door.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The Holy Ghost was at the door.
Yeah.
But I will say this, just a caveat on to Bishop Morgan's comment though. Some of the best services was in a church where we couldn't figure out where we was gonna put the drums, how it would be up on the pulpit.
Yeah.
And Ron be over, the bass would be over in the corner somewhere. I'd be all hunched up in the corner trying to play the keyboard.
Yeah.
And some of the best service, when the walls started sweating, those were some of the best services ever, baby.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. Some of them smaller churches were.
Oh
They
my
were.
gosh, yes.
Joe is saying, I would go to Atlanta, and even down there, choirs would show up just to hear Wilmington Chester. Young budding musicians would show up to hear Willis dismantle that keyboard.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah, Willis don't give himself a lot of credit. But he's an amazing,
Oh, yeah.
legendary keyboardist. He's amazing.
Absolutely.
And we pushed him in the studio to do some things harder, but there's second to none. He's just the best.
Mm-hmm.
He's the best.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you're talking about a team. That's what you're talking about. And see, I won't tell exactly what Howard's hair looked like the first time I saw him play, but I remember the first time I saw him play, and can I just say right here, I miss you, Al Ingram. I miss you, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the first time I saw Howard Kenndey play the drums, I thought, man, if I will ever be able to play next to that man, that boy is hitting it. He had this like little 8-inch tom. I think it was an 8-inch or a 6-inch tom, and he would hit it just at the right time. And I'd be like, oh. And he was sitting right next to, he was playing with Scott Shavoni Parker, and Alex Ingram. I'll never forget it. At Rosie Wallace was pastor that church.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And so I'm not as good ever as I am when I'm sitting next to Howard Kenndey and Ron Burrell. Not ever. I'm not as good any other time as I am when I'm sitting next to those two gentlemen. That's my life. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's nothing like being with musicians that you can gel with and work with and you're friends with.
Well, we're brothers. Yeah, we're brothers forever. We can travel together and not be going anywhere to play. We can just, as brothers, travel together. Right. I mean, that's the type of brotherhood there is here.
Yes, that's important. Joe says we couldn't wait. Joe Calvin said we couldn't wait to get to Chester for the anniversary on the recording.
Lord, that was one hot church right there.
Yeah, and like you said, some of the smaller churches, it was really powerful because you had to make it work. You had to make it work. And I'm so excited to have you guys on tonight and to have the people that are really commenting, and everybody's just happy to see you. And I'm so happy and delighted that you have shared this evening tonight with me with Real Talk. And I hope to have, after you guys have recorded, we'll have you back on again. I'm just thinking about what Chris was saying about with the virtual thing. That's like the new big thing now, the virtual choir, because it can go anywhere. And you, like you said too, Willis, you could have people from everywhere that would be a part of it.
Works.
Yes.
Did you see how Broadway they pivoted? See, here I go with that business stuff. I apologize, Howard. They pivoted and they started to do. They put their Broadway plays on Disney Plus, and they put their Broadway plays in other places because they need to figure out a way to keep the income and keep the interest, because the interest is more important than the income. Because when you come out of it, you want people to still think that you know that you're part of it, and that's the business philosophy that. I love God. I mean, I'm not the treasurer like Judas was. I wasn't doing it like that.
Right.
But I love God to the degree that I want to make sure that we have a platform to move forward and make it happen. And that's kind of like what I see. I envision Wilmington Chester in about 2 or 3 years being at the pinnacle of what choir stuff is about, not just because they're the best, they're best choir, but because they are a good choir. There'll be a million that can sing like or better, but no one will be able to have all the pieces that we have.
Right.
There are very few people that have the kind of situations that we have. And whether Howard is in Dubai with his son or Willis is in North Carolina, we could actually do a recording with them wherever they are, because virtually you can sit in any place.
Right. Well, how do you think it's going to affect the gospel music workshop, the Thomas Dorsey Convention, Edwin Hawkins? How do you think it's going to affect, or do you think it may or may not affect, as far as us all coming together again with all these choirs from all over the country? Do you think
I speak as being the vice president of the Gospel Announcers Guild, which is now the Alliance of the Gospel Music Workshop of America.
Yes.
And and I will say this, and I've said this for the last 3 years, and nobody's picked up on this.
Mm-hmm.
The organization that has the chance to grow and develop financially more than any other is the Gospel Music Workshop of America. And here's why. They're the only gospel organization that has a catalog of music that can be put on YouTube and on paid channels and can win big. Nobody has the beginning of Edwin Hawkins. Nobody has that the Rat Pack when Ricky Diller, Donald Lawrence, all those guys were together. They recorded, they videotaped all these services. Imagine all of this. You have the quartet channel on YouTube. You have the choir channel. You have the Tremaine Hawkins. Come on, they're the one that's positioned to do it. But what they need to have is somebody who's crazy enough to have a mindset to move forward. And that's the issue. That's the challenge.
Because coming together, Cindy, is going to be a minute before you bring that many people together physically. So what Chris is saying is this is a way for us to come together. And, you know, we're learning a new way to come together. That's all there is to it. Now, we need to be on the forefront of it, which is what Chris has been talking about. And I just, you know, I think that that's the place where, you know, where sometimes we lose the game, is that we don't see it and jump on it before, because, you know, once 2 or 3 people have done it, it's now over.
That's true.
Today that happens in a minute.
That's true.
Right? So
that's true.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Wow. This has been amazing. And so many people are commenting. I can't even get to all of them. So many have commented about what you're saying. And one person, this is Joe, he says, just make sure after you all record in Bristol.
Tell Pastor Morgan we'll only show up if we can come to the Gospel Christian Prom.
Hey, fellas, I saw Tom Petrosky pop up there. We got to talk to him.
Hey,
he
Tom.
said, Tom Petrosky's out there. He's an amazing engineer. He makes so many gospel projects.
Really?
Yeah, and he popped up in the chat.
Hey, Tom,
trying to find him.
Can you do me a favor? We have a track of Lucretia Campbell singing "Peace" that we need to get together and drop it, because that's a song that we recorded, but she came in one time and she slammed it. And
Howard,
it's
he's on your song,
He's
son.
doing it.
He's on your song, son.
He's
on your song, son.
I'm just telling you, it's sitting there waiting.
Song, son.
And then there's a piece that Daryl Coley did for us that we couldn't release because the record company wouldn't let us. He did the back end of a song, and that was mixed, and we couldn't set it out. It's all sitting there waiting for us, dude. I'm just telling you. My job is to remember these little things.
Cindy, you're gonna have to charge Chris in a minute. You're gonna have to charge him. He's using your time. He's doing business. He's doing business on your time.
You need to edit this out.
That's what he does. That's what he does. And like he said, that's him.
God, that's hilarious.
And he said, I'm sure Pastor Morgan will make it happen, Chris. You guys come back to Bridgeton. Well, this has been real, and I want to thank everyone for being a part. So I know you guys are busy, and I want to thank you because I know, Chris, you've been all day, you know, with your Zoom and meetings and different things like that, and Willis and Howard. And Howard, especially since you're not on social media, I count it an honor and a privilege to have you. Thank you. An honor.
It's rare for me.
Yes. Jeremiah Murphy, a great forum. Thank you. And they said, boy, we miss Lucretia Campbell. Yeah. We miss a whole lot of them. There's a lot of them. But I want to thank you, Willis, for being a part. This has been awesome. phenomenal on tonight. I want to thank, excuse me, let me get a little drink of water.
Yeah, we don't want to lose you while you're thanking us now. Come on.
No. But I want to thank everyone, for those of you that from far and near that have been a part on tonight on Real Talk with Cindy. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, and this will be up for days and weeks and months. So please let people know that we were on here tonight. Pastor Guidry, haven't seen him in a long time. This is a blessing. Thank you. Oh my goodness.
Bless you.
Thank you, Pastor, for being a part. And Joe Stevens says, love you guys.
Yeah.
And so I want to thank everyone for being a part. And I look forward to doing this again once Wilmington Chester has released their next single or the album or whatever they want to do. We're going to have them back on next year so we can continue part 2. And Chris will bring us some more business ideas. And I'm looking forward to hearing that again. I'm sure we're going to have more for 2021.
Right.
Hey, Cindy, let me just say, behind Willis are CDs. That's just a fraction of the CDs that he actually produced.
Wow.
He's an amazing producer, an amazing songwriter, and keyboardist. So anyone that's looking to produce a record, call Willis.
Now that's my manager right there talking right there. That's my manager talking right there.
Yeah. Yeah, so this was all good on tonight. And I want to thank everyone for being a part of Real Talk, where we share real life journeys that have destinies at stake. And I want to thank you. Also, I would have to thank this person for coming on. Garfield.
Oh, Garfield.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
Garfield, it's been a minute. It's so good to see you. And thank you for being a part.
I love Garfield.
Yes. Did he play with you?
He played on the first record, Sovereign.
He played on Sovereign.
He played with Sweet Rain Records on Sovereign, and Spike played, and I had a cameo appearance on that first record.
Right.
I played a song with Ernie Davis that played, so that was my first time.
Yeah.
Garfield is a legend, and there's my son Zachary.
Yes, there's Zach.
There's my son Zach.
Thank you so much for being a part and joining us on tonight. And those of you that are so busy and they're still commenting, and people are saying that they love this platform on tonight. We learned a lot. And thank you guys. And I look forward to talking to you all again. I want to say good night to everyone. Have a blessed week. And I will be back with you on next week. I'll be back with this Thursday. I'll be back, and also next week. I got Pastor Bruce Parham, Bishop Bruce Parham at the end of this month. So I have some special guests. Pastor Hubert Powell. I don't know if you all remember him.
Beautiful. Yes.
I'll be interviewing him as well. So I have some great things. God has been good to Real Talk. I'm booked all the way up until March. So I just give God the glory and the honor for what he's done. So I'll be able to squeeze y'all back in.
Y'all subscribe to her YouTube channel now. Subscribe to her YouTube channel and get her Cash App now. Come on, do right now.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. The business person up there, Chris, I'm telling you, he just amazed me tonight with his ideas.
I do want to say I do thank Howard, Willis, and Ron for accepting me into their world, because they didn't have to. They could have just said, who is this crazy dude from that radio station? And got Ernie's ear and stuff. But I do appreciate you guys. And I love you. And that's all I can say. You guys are
we love you, man.
And that Ron was here. It was like the most amazing group of guys that I ever had an opportunity to run into.
Hey, Cindy, real quick, Chris started mentioning something about his writing. He did write a book of poems earlier.
Really?
So I don't know if it's on Amazon or not, but if it's not there,
we call it
poetry. They call it punk writing. There are actually 12 books down here, and I am going to release 2 of them because somebody asked me to do it.
Wow.
They're going to pay me to do it, so it's going to be interesting.
Yes.
But it tells too much heart.
On praise and worship. That should
Look
be
at Howard.
2022.
Oh, yeah.
He's pushing me. He's pushing me, Cindy. He's pushing me. He's
doing a good job tonight for not to be on something.
Hey, Howard, if I give you 5%, we're good?
We good.
Right. Because that's going to be a good 5%.
That's gonna be a good 5%.
There we go with that business mind again.
There you go again.
He's gonna think. And Howard, what are you doing?
I'm going to do homework. As soon as this is over, I have homework to do.
Okay.
So, and I'm very.
Why do you have
hungry.
homework? What are
I'm
you
at
doing that
Eastern
you have to have
University,
homework?
Man, we'll talk offline.
Oh, you don't want? Yo, you talk about everybody else stuff.
Yeah,
You want to talk about you?
I'm not
Yeah.
on social media.
You
He's
on
not
social media now?
He's not on social media, Chris.
What you think you're not on social
Cindy,
media at this moment?
Cindy, you better get control of your call. It's about to go crazy.
It's about to crash.
Right.
You better get it.
I want to say good night to everyone. Love you guys, and we'll see you real soon. God bless you.
God bless you.
God bless you.
God bless you.